If you want to see our previous videos, then click the channel name or picture below the video, then go to the video or playlist option. This is Bori critical Mahabharat book Chitraratha parva 162 chapter. The Gandharva said, having said this, the unblemished one swiftly rose up into the sky. Press the red subscribe option and press the bell icon for my latest video updates. The king once more fell down on the ground. Searching for the supreme among kings, his minister and attendants found him in that state in the great forest, prone on the ground like Shakra's flag when the season is right. On seeing that great archer prone on the ground and without a horse, the minister was burned, as if by a fire. Drawing quickly near the minister, raged the king, who was lying senseless on the ground in the affection of desire, affectionately and reverently, just as a father raises a fallen son. The minister was old in age, wisdom, fame, and deeds. When he had raised him and senses were recovered, the minister addressed him in sweet and benevolent words. O tiger among men, do not be frightened, O unblemished one, you will be blessed. Your minister bowed that the king, O destroyer of hostile armies in battle, had been lying down on the ground because he had been overcome with anger, thirst, and exhaustion. He sprinkled cold water, fragrant with the scent of lotuses, on the king's head, but without touching the crown. Thereupon the powerful king regained his consciousness. He then sent away all his attendants except the minister. When the large retinue had gone away on the king's instructions, the king again sat down on that mountain plain. Then on that great mountain the king purified himself and joined his palms. He raised his arms up and worshipped the sun. King Samvarana, destroyer of enemies, also mentally thought of his priest Vasishtha, supreme among rishis. Without a break, the ruler of men remained there for days and nights. Then on the 12th day, the Brahmarshi come to him. Through his powers of austerities, the great rishi who was self-controlled knew that, as decreed by destiny, the king's heart had been stolen by Tapati. Then the best of sages, who was rigid in his vows, wished to bring good fortune to the virtuous king and assured him, as the ruler of men watched the illustrious rishi ascended the sky to meet the sun, as radiant himself as that blazing one, with his palm joined, the Brahmana joyfully introduced himself to the one with 1,000 rays and said, I am Vasishtha. Then the immensely radiant Vivasvat said to the best of sages, O Maharshi, you are welcome. Tell me what you desire. Vasishtha said, O Vivavasu, on Swayam Samvarana's behalf, I have come to ask you for your daughter Tapati, Savitri's younger sister. He is a mighty king with great deeds. He is great souled and is well versed in dharma and artha. O traveler in the sky, Samvarana in a fit husband for your daughter. The Gandharva said, hearing these words, Sabita decided on giving her. Divakara saluted the Brahmana and said, O sage, Samvarana is the best among kings and you are the best among rishis. Tapati is the best of women. Why give her somewhere else? Thereupon Tapana himself gave the unblemished and perfect tapati to the great soul Vasishtha. For Sambarana's sake, the Maharshi accepted the lady Tapati, and taking his leave, Vasishtha returned to where the bull among the Kurus and the one with famous deeds was seated. The king was possessed by love and his heart was fixed on her. He became extremely glad when he saw the Vasishtha was leading the divine maiden Tapati, the one with a beautiful smile towards him. The illustrious Rishi Vasishtha, pure of spirit, came to the king when he had completed the 12th night of his vows. Thus, Sambarana obtained his wife through austerities and worship of the Lord Gopati and Vasishta's energy. That bull among men accepted Tapati's husband on that best of mountain frequented by gods and Gandharvas in accordance with the prescribed rituals. With Vasishta's permission, the Rajarsi desired to sport with his wife on that mountain. He then instructed his minister to rule over his city, kingdom, mount, and armies. Bidding farewell to the king, Vasishta left. The king sported on that mountain like a god. The king pleasured with his wife in the groves and streams of that mountain for 12 years, O descendant of the birthday lineage. For those 12 years, the one with 1,000 eyes did not pour any rain in the king's city and kingdom. Because of hunger and starvation, the men became like dead bodies. The city looked like a city of the king of the dead, populated by dead people. Then, sitting that condition, the illustrious Rishi Vasishtha, learned in Dharma, went to the supreme among kings. O king, he brought back the tiger like king who had been away from his city for 12 years together with Tapati. When that tiger among kings entered the city again, the slayer of demons poured down rain as before. Thus, enraged by that foremost among kings who had himself enervated his soul, the city and the kingdom became extremely happy. With his wife Tapati, the king performed sacrifices for 12 years like Indra means Chakra, lord of the Maruts. O Partha, this is the story of the greatly fortunate Tapati of ancient times. She was the daughter of Vivasvat, and it is after her that you are named Tapatya, O Arjuna, O greatest among those who scourged on Tapati. King Sambarana had a son named Kuru. Born in that lineage of Tapati, you are known as Tapatya. Vaishnampana said, hearing the Gandharva's word, the bull of the the bull of the Bharata lineage, Arjuna, shone with joy like the full moon. His curiosity was exceeded, but what he had heard about Vasishta's ascetic powers, the best of the Kurus, the great archer, spoke to the Gandharva. I wish to hear the story of the Rishi whom you have referred to as Vasishtha. Tell me in detail, O Lord of the Gandharvas, tell me who this illustrious Rishi, the priest of our ancestors, was. The Gandharvas said, desire and anger, which even the gods find difficult to conquer, were overcome through his austerities and washed his feet. Through the supreme sages, wrath was stilled at Vishwamitra's evil deed. He was noble enough not to annihilate the Kushikas. Through he mourned the death of his sons and had the power to do so. He did not perform any terrible deed to destroy Vishwamitra, like the great ocean does not cross its shoreline. He did not transgress Yama's law by bringing his son back from the land of the dead, obtaining this great soul and self-controlled supreme Rishi Vasishtha as their priest. Ishwaku and other kings conquered the entire earth or descendant of the Kuru lineage. This king performed many sacrifices O best of the Pandavas. The Brahmarishi was the priest for those excellent kings, like Brihaspati was for the gods. Therefore, look for a Brahmana in whose heart Dharma is supreme, who is learned in the Vedas and in Dharma, and who has all the qualities, and appoint him as your priest, O Partha, a Kshatriya of noble birth who wish to conquer the earth must first appoint a priest to be in front so that the kingdom flourishes. A king who wishes to conquer the earth must have a Brahmana before him. Therefore, let a Brahmana who has all the qualities be your priest. Arjuna said, how did the hostility between Vasishtha and Vishwamitra, both of whom lived in divine hermitage, arise? Tell us in detail. The Gandharva said, O Partha, Vasishtha's account is known as a Purana in all the worlds. Listen to me as I recount it in its entirety. O bull of the Bharata lineage, there was a great king in Kanyakubja. He was known in the world as Gadi, and he was devoted to true dharma. His virtuous son, a conqueror of enemies, was known by the name of Vishwamitra, and he had many armies and mounts. With his ministers, he used to wander in deep forests and beautiful wilderness to hunt deer and boar. Once, tired and exhausted from pursuit of a deer, that best of men come to Vasishtha's hermitage. On seeing him come, the fortunate and illustrious Rishi Vasishtha offered homage to Vishwamitra, the best of men or descendant of the Bharata lineage. He welcomed him and offered him water to wash his feet and face and gave him offering of forest fare. The great soul Vasishtha possessed a Kamadhenu. When she was asked to give, she produced whatever was desired. O Arjuna, she yielded products of villages and forest, herbs, milk, juices, and 6 different flavors that tasted like ambrosia itself, and different types of food that could be chewed, drunk, eaten, licked, and shut, all tasting like ambrosia. The king was honored with everything that he desired in abundant measure. His ministers and his entourage were greatly satisfied. With great surprise, he saw Vasishtha's beautiful and unblemished cow named Nandini, 6 measures long, 3 measures wide, and 5 measures around, with beautiful flanks and thighs, with eyes prominent like those of frogs, with a beautiful carriage, large udders, beautiful tail, upright and straight ears, handsome horns, and a well developed head and neck. O king, Gadi's son was gratified with what he saw and saluted the cow. The king then spoke to the rishi, O Brahmana, O great sage, give me Nandini in exchange of my kingdom or for 10,000 cows. Enjoy the kingdom. Vasishtha said, O unblemished king, I keep this milk yielding cow for the sake of the gods, ancestors, guests, and sacrificial offsprings. Nandini cannot be given away, even in exchange of your kingdom. Vishwamitra said, I am a Kshatriya and you are only a Brahmana devoted to studies and austerities. So, Vishwamitra, this is a Ramayana story, okay? How can there be strength in Brahmanas who are peaceful and control themselves? If you don't give me what I want in exchange of 10,000 cows, I will not give up my own dharma. I will take the cow away by force. Vasishtha said, you are a powerful king with an army with you. You are Kshatriya, with valor in your arms, do what you wish quickly. And without thinking over it, O Partha thus addressed Vishwamitra sage the Kaunandini as truculent as a swan or the moon. He dragged her here and there and beat her with a stick. The blessed Nandini bellowed piteously and came to Vasishtha, O Partha. She stood near the illustrious sage and raised her head up at him. Though she had been beaten a lot, she did not leave the hermitage. Vishwamitra said, O fortunate Nandini, I hear your repeated cries, but you are being taken away by force. What can I, forgiving Brahmana, do? O bull among the Bharatalineage, pretended by the force of Vishwamitra's army and pretended by Vishwamitra himself. She came closer to Vasishtha. Nandini said, O illustrious one, why do you overlook it when I am beaten by the sticks and lashes of Vishwamitra's fearful army? Why do you orphan me when I am crying? O Partha, the great sage did not lose, lose his patience, nor did he deviate from his rigid vows. On hearing her cries of suffering, Vasishtha said, a Kshatriya's strength is his energy, a Brahmana's strength is his forbearance. I cannot give up a forbearance. If you wish, go, Nandini said. O illustrious one, O Brahmana, are you forsaking me in this way? If you do not forsake me, I cannot be taken away by force. Vasishtha said, O blessed one, I am not forsaking you. Stay if you can. Uh, Tethered with a strong rope, your cup is now being taken away by force. Hearing him say stay, Vasishtha's cow rise up, her head and neck, and become fearful to look at, eyes red with anger and with thunderous blows. She attacked Vishwamitra's army from all sides, stung with their sticks and lashes, and being dragged here and there. Her anger increased, and her eyes became red with rage. A shower of burning embers was unleashed from her tail. She blazed with anger like the midday sun. She created an army of Pashlavas from her tail, an army of Sharbaras and Shakas from her dung, and an army of Yavanas from her urine. She shrieked with angry from her forth. She produced Pandras, Kiratas, Smilas, Barbaras, and militias. When she had produced these many armies of militias clad in different types of armor and armed with different types of weapons, before Vishwamitra's own eyes, she scattered with her ferocious troops with large army. Every single one of his soldiers was surrounded by 5 or 7 of hers, and with a shower of weapons was dispersed and fled in all directions in panic. O bull among the Bharata lineage, through greatly enraged, not a single one of Vishwamitra's soldiers was separated from his life by a single one of Vasishtha's. Vishwamitra's army was driven 3 yojanas away, and through it cried out in panic. There was no savior to be found. On seeing this amazing sight born out of a Brahmana's powers, Vishwamitra was disguised with his Kshatriya powers and said, a course of my Kshatriya powers. The true power is that of a Brahmana. In judging weakness and strength, I see that true strength arises from the power of austerities. He gave up his prosperous kingdom and his radiant regal fortune. Turning his back on all pleasures, he decided to devote himself to austerities. Through his powers of austerities, he became successful and filled the worlds with his radiance. Through all his radiant energy, he became a Brahmana and Kushika's son, eventually drank the Soma juice with Indra himself. Next, the Gandharva said, O Partha, in the world there was a king named Kalmashpada. He was born in the lineage of Ishvaku and he was unrevealed on earth in his prowess. One day the king left his capital to go on a hunt in the forest. That chastiser of enemies shot many deer and boars. Hungry and thirsty, the king followed a narrow path and met Yashishta's great souled son on the way. The son was illustrious sage and his name was Shakti. He was the illustrious extender of Vasishta's lineage and was the eldest of the great soul Vasishta's 100 sons. As they came face to face in opposite directions on the narrow path, the king said, Move off from our path. The rishi then spoke to him in a soothing and kind voice, but did not yield the path because he was following the path of Dharma. Out of pride and anger at the sage, the king did not yield the path either. When the sage refused to give away, the best of the kings, deluded like a Rakshasa, struck the sage with his whip. Thus, struck by the whip, Vasishta's son, the best of sages, was enraged and cursed the best of kings, O worst of kings, since you have struck an ascetic like a Rakshasa, from today you will become a man-eater. O corrupt king, go from here and wander around the earth, eating human flesh. Thus Shakti cursed him through the strength of his powers. Vasishta and Vishwamitra had a quarrel over who should be the officiating priest. At that time, Vishwamitra came to that place. O Partha, the immensely powerful Vishwamitra, the rishi, with great austerities neared the place where the two were quarreling. After the curse on the great king, the rishi recognized that the rishi was none other than Vashishta's son, as powerful as Vasishta himself, or descendant of the birth lineage, desiring to bring some benefits to himself. Vishwamitra remained there but concealed himself by making himself invisible from them, having been cursed by Shakti, that best of kings, sought Shakti's mercy and worshipped him so as to pacify him, or descendant of the Kuru lineage, knowing the king's nature. Vishwamitra ordered a Rakshasa to enter the king's body because of the Brahmana Rishi's curse and because of Vasishta's instruction. A Rakshasa named Kimkara then entered the king's body. O chastiser of enemies, knowing that the Rakshasa had entered the king's body, Vishwamitra, the best of sages, went away. Thereafter, the wise king was possessed and tormented by the Rakshasa within him and found it difficult to save himself. A certain Brahmana saw the king roaming in the forest. Being hungry, he begged for some food with meat. Rajarishi Kalmashpada Mitra Shah said, O Brahmana, stay here for a while. When I return, I will give you the food you desire to have. Having said this, the king went away, and that best of Brahmana remained there. But when he entered the inner quarters of his place, the king forgot about his promise to the Brahmana and remembered it only at midnight. He told his cook, Go to the forest, a Brahmana is waiting for me there. Hoping to get some food, take some meat to him. Having been thus addressed, the cook could not find any meat anywhere and come and sorrowfully informed the king about this. Possessed by the Rakshasa, the king unhesitatingly told the cook, feed him human flesh, and repeated his instructions. Agreeing, the cook quickly went to where executioners lived and took some human flesh from them washing it and cooking it properly. He mixed it with rice and quickly took it to the hungry and ascetic Brahmana. Through his ascetic side, the best of Brahmanas immediately recognized the food to be forbidden. His eyes red with anger, he said, "The worst of kings has offered me food that is forbidden. Therefore, that deluded one will himself become found of such food, becoming found of human flesh as Shakti had cursed him earlier. He will roam the earth and persecute all beings." Repeated for the second time. The curse on the king became very strong. Being possessed by the Rakshasa, the king soon lost all his senses, or descendant of the Bharata lineage. On seeing Shakti, the best of kings, having been deprived of his senses by the Rakshasa within him, said, "Because you have imposed this unparalleled curse on me, I shall begin my man eating predicament by eating you first." Having said this, the king immediately separated Shakti from his life and ate him up. The way a tiger devours its favored prey. Having seen Shakti killed thus, Vishwamitra urged the Rakshasa to kill Vasishta's other son. Like an angry lion devours small animals, he ate up all the younger sons of the great soul Vasishta. When Vasishta learned that Vishwamitra had conspired to get his sons killed, he bore his grief patiently. Like a great mountain bear the earth, that best of sages, chief among those who are intelligent, resolved to sacrifice himself rather than set his mind to extinguishing the Kushika lineage. The illustrious Rishi threw himself down from the peak of Mount Meru, and his head struck the stones like a bale of cotton. O Pandava, when the illustrious one found that the fall did not kill him, he lit a fire in that great forest and entered it, but through the flames blazed up thighs blazed up high, they did not kill him, or chastiser of enemies. Indeed, the blazing flames cooled him. Seeing the ocean, the stricken, the great sage tied a heavy stone around his neck and flung himself into the water. But the strong waves brought the great sage back to the shore. With a sorrowful heart, he then returned to his hermitage. The Gandharva said, on seeing that hermitage was bereft of his sons, the grief-stricken sage left it again. O Partha, he saw a river swollen with the new water of the rainy season. It was sweeping away many trees that grew along the banks. O descendant of the Puru, on seeing this, the miserable one again began to think that he would certainly be killed in this water. Thereupon the great sage bound himself with strong ropes and struck with great grief, flung himself into the waters of that great river, O chastiser of enemy armies. But the river tore those ropes away and unfettered washed the rishi up onto the bank. Freed from the bindings, the great rishi arose and gave the river the name of Bipasha. However, his mind was obseded with grief and he did not stay in any one place. He went to mountains, rivers, and lakes, seeing one more and terrible river, Himavati, terrible of appearance and full of fierce animals. He once more flung himself into its water. That best of rivers, thinking that the Brahmana was fire, immediately fled in 100 directions and thereafter came to be known as Shatadru. Finding that he was once again on dry land, he exclaimed that he was unable to die at his own hands and returned to his hermitage. When he was returning to his hermitage, his daughter in law Adrishanti followed him. As she came near, she heard the sound of Vedic incantations embellished with the fullness of meaning of the six branches. Who is following me? He asked. I am Adrishanti, Shakti's wife. His daughter-in-law answered, O illustrious one, I am austere and enraged, engaged in austerities. Vasishtha said, O daughter, who is reciting the Vedas and their angas that I hear? It is just as I have heard it from Shakti earlier. Adishanti said, In my womb there is a son begotten by Shakti. He has been there for 12 years, O sage. You have heard his recitations. Having been thus addressed by her, Vasishtha, the best of rishis, was greatly delighted of Partha, exclaiming that there was a son. He refrained from that. The unblemished one returned, accompanied by his daughter-in-law. He found that Kalmashpada seated in the deserted forest, or descendant of the birth lineage. On seeing him possessed by the Rakshasa, the king arose in anger and sought to valor him. But seeing the king of evil deeds, Adishanti spoke to Vasishtha in fear and alarm. O illustrious one, this terrible Rakshasa took like death himself as he advanced towards us with a fearful wooden club in his hand. O best among those who are learned in all the Vedas except you, no one on earth has the power to ward him off. O illustrious one, save me from this evil one form, whose form is terrible. Without a doubt, the Rakshasa is advancing towards us to devour us. Vasishtha said, O daughter, do not be pretended. There is nothing to be pretended of from a Rakshasa. There is no danger from the one you see advancing. He is not a Rakshasa. He is King Kalmashpada, beautiful and famous on earth. That terrible one lives in this part of the forest. The Gandharva said of descendant of the birth lineage. As he advanced towards them, the illustrious and energetic Rishi Vasishtha stopped himself with a roar. He sprinkled water sanctified with mantras over him and freed the good king from the terrible Rakshasa. For 12 years the king had been shallowed through the energy of Vasishtha's son, like the sun is shallowed by the one who shallows at the time of an eclipse. Thus freed from the Rakshasa, the king reddened the great forest with his energy like the sun illuminates the evening clouds. Regaining his senses, the king worshipped Vasishtha, the best of rishis, with joined palms and said, O illustrious one, O best of Brahmanas, I am the son of Sudasa. You are my preceptor. Tell me what you wish is now and what I should do. Vasishtha said, O Lord of men, my desire was fulfilled when the right time arrived. Return to your kingdom and rule and never again disregard Brahmanas. O the king said, O illustrious one, I shall never again disregard the bull among Brahmanas. In accordance with your instruction, I shall always worship the twice born. O best among the twice born, O best among those who are learned in the Vedas, I wish to obtain a boon from you so that I can be freed from the debt I owe to the Ishvaku lineage. I wish to have a son. Please go to my beloved queen, who is virtuous, beautiful, and has all the qualities, so that the Ishvaku lineage can be extended. Vasishtha, the best of Brahmanas and always devoted to the truth, agreed to the desires of the great archer, the king. O king of men, after some time, Vasishtha, accompanied by the one without blame, went to his capital, famous in this world as Ayodhya. In great joy, all the people came out to welcome the great soul and sinless one, like gods welcome their chief. Accompanied by the great soul Vasishtha, the king of men soon entered his auspicious city. O king, the citizens of Ayodhya saw him like the sun rising in Pushya. The king, the most fortunate among those who are blessed with fortune, filled Ayodhya like the cool moon which fills the cheeks when it rises in the autumn. His mind was uh, gladdened when he saw the supreme of cities with its streets clean and washed, adorned with flags and pennants. O descendant of the Guru lineage, that city was full of people who were happy and well fed. It looked as radiant as Amravati in Indra's presence. After the Rajrishi had entered the best of cities, the queen came to Vasishtha at the king's command. When the season was right, Maharishi Vasishtha, the rishi who always obtained the best share, united with her in accordance with the divine rites laid down by the gods. Thereafter, when the queen conceived through him, the best of sages received a salutation from the king and returned to his hermitage. When she had carried the embryo for a long time, the famous lady split her womb open with a stone. Obul among men, after 12 years, Rajrishi Ashma, Ashmaka was born, the one who founded the city of Potana. The Gandharva said, O king, living in the hermitage, Adrishyanti gave birth to a son who was the extender of Shakti's lineage and was like a second Shakti. O best of the Bharata lineage, the best of the sages, the illustrious one himself performed the prescribed birth ceremonies of his grandson because of the sage Vasishtha had consoled to kill himself but refrained from doing so. When he heard of the son in the womb, he was known in the world by the name of Parashara. From the death of his birth, that virtuous one knew Vasishtha to be his father and behaved towards him like a father. O Kaunteya, O scorcher of enemies, when the child addressed the Brahmana Rishi Vasishtha as father in front of his mother Adishyanti, she heard the sweet word so full of meaning uttered by him. Adishyanti spoke to him with tears in her eyes, O son, do not use the word father. The great sage is not your father, O son. Your father was devoured by a Rakshasa in the deep forest. O innocent son, the one you think of as your father is not your father. The illustrious one is the father of your famous father. Having been thus addressed, the best of rishis was grief stricken because he always spoke to the truth. The great soul one resolved to destroy all the worlds. On seeing him thus resolved, the great soul Vasishtha, great in austerities, have gave reasons for refraining. Hear them. Vasishtha said, there was a great king known by the name of Kritavirya in this world. That bull among kings had as his priest the Bhrigus learned in the Vedas. At the end of his Soma sacrifice, the king gratified those who are the first receivers of offerings with many presents of grain and riches. When that tiger among men had ascended to heaven, there come come a time when his descendants were indeed of riches. Also, knowing that the Bhrigus were affluent, those kings went to the best of the Bhrigus in the disguise of beggars to ask for riches to save their indestructible riches. Some of Bhrigus buried them in that ground, fearing danger from the Kshatriyas. Others gave away their riches to Brahmanas. O son, some of Bhiggus gave them as much of riches as they wanted, thinking that some other use might be found for the Kshatriyas. O son, then one day some of the Kshatriyas, according to their wishes, dug up the ground in the dwelling place of the Bhrigus and discovered a treasure. All the bulls among the Kshatriyas who were assembled there saw the treasure thereafter. Angry and contemptuous, those supreme archers shot down the Bhrigus with their sharp arrows. Through they craved for mercy, they traveled all over the earth, killing even children in wombs. O son, when they were killed in this way, many Bhigu's wives fell in fear and sought refuge in the mountains of the Himalayas. Among them was a lady with beautiful thighs. She resolved to perpetuate her husband's race and kept her immensely energetic embryo hidden in her thighs so that it might not be discovered. But the Kshatriyas discovered the Brahmana lady who placed in the radiance. Then the child appeared, tearing her thigh open, blinding the eyes of the Kshatriyas like the midday sun. Thereupon, deprived of their eyesight, the Kshatriyas began to wander around in the difficult passes of the mountain, frustrated in their desire and pretended. Those bulls among the Kshatriyas sought refuge with that unblemished Brahmana lady so that their eyesight might be restored. They were out of their minds and pain. They had lost their eyesight and were like a fire that has been put out. Those Kshatriyas spoke to the lady, O illustrious lady, through your grace, may the Kshatriyas regain their eyesight. All of us will depart from here with our evil deeds. You and your son should show us mercy. You should save these kings by restoring their eyesight to them. The Brahmana woman said, O sons, I have not robbed you for your eyesight, nor am I angry with you. It is the Bhargava who has been born from my thigh who is angry with you. O sons, there is no doubt that your eyesight has been taken away by this great souled one whose anger has been aroused on remembering that you had killed these relatives. O sons, when you destroyed even the Bhrigu sons in the wombs, I carried this child in my thigh for 100 years so that he might do that which is good for the Bhrigu lineage. All the Vedas, including their 6 Angas, came to him when he was in the womb. Angry at the killing of his fathers, he certainly wished to kill you. It is through his radiance at that your eyesight has been destroyed, O sons. Pray to Orva, the supreme son of mine. If he is placated through your homage, he may restore your eyesight. Vasishtha said, having been thus addressed, all the kings addressed the son who had been born from her thigh and begged him for mercy. He was merciful, since that supreme Brahmana Rishi was born after splitting open the thigh. He came to be known in the worlds by the name of Orva. Regaining their eyesight, the kings returned, but the Bhargava sage decided to bring about the destruction of the entire world. O son, the great soul one decided to bring about the destruction of all the worlds in order of being honor to the Bhrigus that descended of the Bhrigu lineage, enraged in great austerities so as to bring about the destruction of all the worlds. Through his great and serve austerities, he burned the worlds with the gods, the Asuras and men, and gratified him ancestors on learning when the descendant of the lineage was planning to do the ancestors descended from their world and told him, O son, we have witnessed the power of your saber austerities. Have mercy for the worlds and control your anger, O son. The self-controlled bhikkhus weren't powerful, nor were they indifferent, so slaughter at the hands of the violent Kshatriyas, O son. When we got tired of our long lives, we ourselves wished for our death at the hands of the Kshatriyas, the riches that were buried in the ground in the dwelling place of the Bhrigus were placed that with the intention of angering the Kshatriyas and creating an enmity with them, O bull among the twice born. What use are riches to us when we wish to attain heaven? O son, when we find that death was completely unable to overcome all of us, we thought this would be the most pleasant way. O son, those who kill themselves never attain the best worlds, remembering that we did not kill ourselves with our own hands. O son, that which you desire does not please us at all. Therefore, control your mind and refrain from this evil destruction of all the worlds, O son. None of the Kshatriyas in the seven worlds has offended or harmed our austerities. Win over the anger that has arisen in you. Orva said, O ancestor, in anger I took a vow that all the worlds would be destroyed, and that cannot go in vain, because I cannot be one whose anger and vows come to nothing. Without a doubt, any anger will consume me, the way fire consumes dry kindling. When anger arises from a reason that is just a man who surprise it cannot properly safeguard the three goals. Anger has the purpose of restraining the evil and protecting the good. Kings who wish to conquer heaven use their anger for a just cause. I was lying unborn inside my mother's thigh. I heard cries when my mothers of the Bhrigu lineage was slaughter of the Kshatriyas, O ancestor, when those worst of the Kshatriyas slaughtered the Bhrigus, including those in wombs, and the worlds ignored this. Anger entered my heart. My mother, heavy in their wombs, and my father were pretended but did not find a protector in all the worlds. When the woman of the Bhrigu lineage did not find a single protector, my fortunate mother hid me in one of my thighs. If there is one who punishes crimes in the worlds, no one in the worlds will dare to commit a crime. But if a crime doesn't find a punisher, many in the worlds will commit crimes. A man who has the power of punish a crime and doesn't do so despite knowing that a crime has been committed is himself tainted by the deed, even if he is the Lord. The kings and others were capable of protecting my father, but failed to do so, giving themselves up to the pleasures of life. They neglected their duties. Therefore, I have justifiable reason to be angry with the worlds and am now their Lord. Yet I am not capable of disobeying your instruction, even though I am capable of punishing a crime by refraining from doing so. I will once again encourage the spread of evil in the worlds. The anger of my rage wishes to consume the worlds. If I suppress it with my own powers, it will consume me with its energy. O Lord, I know that you always strive for the welfare of the worlds. Therefore, instruct me on what is best for the worlds and for me. The ancestor said, the fire that is born from your anger wishes to consume the worlds. Cast it into the waters and be fortunate, because the worlds are established on water. Every juice consists of water. Indeed, the entire universe is made out of water, O best of the twice born, therefore release your anger into the water. O Brahmana, if you so desire, let the anger of your fire be in that great ocean, let it consume the water, because we have heard that the worlds are made out of water, O unblemished one. In this way, your vow will remain true, and the worlds with their gods will not be destroyed. Vasishtha said, thereupon Orva hurled the fire of the anger into Varuna's territory, and the fire consumed the waters of the great ocean. Those who are learned in the Vedas know that it has assumed the form of a large horse head which spouts fire from the mouth and consumes the waters of the great ocean. O Parshata, you are the foremost among those who are wise. You are familiar with the higher dharma. Be blessed and refrain from destroying the worlds. The Gandharva said, having been thus addressed by the great soul Vasishtha, the Brahmana Rishi controlled his anger, which would have destroyed all the worlds. But the immensely energetic Parashara, Shakti's son and chief among those who were learned in the Vedas, performed the Rakshasa sacrifice. Remembering Shakti's slaughter, the great sage began to consume Rakshasas, old and young. In that sacrifice, nothing wishing to restrain him from this second vow, Vasishtha did not prevent him from destroying the Rakshasas. The great sage sat at that sacrifice with three blazing fires in front of him. He himself looked like a fourth fire. Many were of offerings that were poured at this radiant sacrifice, and the sky was lit up like a sun emerging from behind the clouds. Vasishtha and the other sages regarded the sage blazing with his own radiance like a second sun. Thereupon the great and noble-minded sage Atri came to that place wishing to put an end to that sacrifice, a task that would have been possible for anyone else to accomplish. Or destroyer of enemies, Pulastya, Pulaha and Katrus also come to the great sacrifice, since they also desired that the Rakshasas should live. O bull among the Bharata lineage, bull of the Bharata lineage, O Partha, on seeing that many Rakshasas has already been killed, Pulastya spoke to Parashara that chastiser of enemies, O son, do you find no obstruction in the way of this sacrifice? O son, do you find pleasure in killing all these Rakshasas who were ignorant and innocent? O Parashara, you are foremost among those who drink the soma juice. You should not destroy all my progeny in this way. You are a virtuous man. You should not think that the path of adharma will be good for you. King Kalmashpada himself wished to ascend to heaven. Shakti's younger brother, sons of the great sage Vasishtha, are now enjoying great happiness in the company of the gods. O son of hermits, all this was known to the great sage Vasishtha, including the destruction of the Rakshasas. O Vasishtha's descendant, you have only been an instrument in this sacrifice. Be fortunate and give up his sacrifice. Let it come to an end now. Having been thus addressed by Pulatsya and the wise Vasishtha, Sakti's son Parshata brought an end to the sacrifice. The sage threw away the fire that had been lit for the Rakshasa sacrifice into the fire forest that was to the north of the Himalayas. Even today, the fire is always visible. There in all the seasons consumes Rakshasas, trees and rocks. Arjuna said, why did King Kalyanspada himself call and instruct his wife to go to his preceptor supreme among those who are learned in the Vedas? Why did the great soul Maharishi Vasishtha, who knew the path of supreme dharma, agree to go to a woman who was forbidden? Why were these acts done earlier? I wish to know. Tell me in detail. The Gandharva said, O Dhananjaya, O one who cannot be repulsed, listen to my answer to your question about the unsellable Vasishtha, the king Mitrasha, O best of the Bharata lineage. I have already told you how the king was cursed by Shakti, Vasishta's great soul son. Thus, under the influence of the curse, the king, that scourger of enemies, came out of the city with his wife, his eyes rolling with anger. He went to a deserted forest with his wife and roamed around there. Under the influence of the curse, he roamed around that forest, frequented by many beasts and other animals, overgrown with many plants and creepers, dense with many large trees, and echoing with horrible howls. One, obsessed with extreme hunger and exhausted, he saw in a lonely part of the forest a Brahmana and a Brahmani about to engage in an act of sexual union. Seeing him, the pair was frightened and ran away, their desire unsatisfied. Pursuing them, the king forcibly grabbed the Brahmana. Seeing that her husband had thus been saged, the Brahmani said, O king, who is always rigid in his vows, listen to what I have to say. It is known in all the worlds that you have been born in the solar dynasty, you have always been established in the path of dharma, and you have always served your preceptors, O unassailable one. Through you have been deprived of your senses through a curse. Do not commit an evil act. When my season had come, I was about to unite with my husband so as to obtain offspring, but I have not been successful and have great need. O best of kings, be merciful to me and let my husband go. While she was crying thus, the king cruelly ate up her husband, the way a tiger devours a deer. On account of her anger, tears fell from her eyes on the ground and became a blazing fire that burned up everything there. Grief stricken and enraged at the death of her husband, the Brahmini cursed Rajarishi Kalimashpada, O evil minded one, today you have cruelly devoted before my own eyes my illustrious and beloved husband, even though I was not satisfied. Therefore, through my curse, you will meet with instant death when when you unite with your wife when she is in season. Rishi Vasishta, those sons who have eaten will unite with your wife, and she will give birth to a son. O worst of kings, that son will perpetuate your lineage. Having thus cursed the king, the fortunate lady of the Angirasa lineage entered the flaming fire in his presence. O scorcher of enemies, the immensely fortunate Vasishta knew all this through his great austerities and his powers of knowledge that come through yoga. After a long time, the Devrishi was freed from the curse and went to his wife Madayani when she was in season, but the repulsed him, deluded by the curse. The king had no recollection of the curse. On hearing the lady's word, the best of kings remembered the curse and was greatly alarmed. O best of the birth lineage, it was for the season that the king requested Vasishta to accept his own wife because he suffered from the curse. Next, section 12, Draupadi Swayamvar Parva.